Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I hope that you are having an awesome day. If you are in the boot camp, make sure that you join me today at 1 p.m. Eastern for our live mastermind. We are talking all things associates. So I love seeing how so many boot camp offices have absolutely exploded, even in a pandemic. And in order to continue to care for the volume of new practice members and existing practice members, they're looking to hire an associate. So if you are a student or a new doctor looking for a great practice to be in, make sure you get in touch with me so that I can connect you with a boot camp office that are hiring. So boot campers, I'll look forward to seeing you here in 45 minutes. Right now, one of my most favorite boot campers, I'm pointing the wrong way, there we go, Dr. Chelsea Rainey is joining me because she is speaking about infertility at the Pediatric Boot Camp February 26th and 27th on Sherman's campus. The cool thing that we're doing is we're doing a hybrid, which this is the first hybrid that's happening there. So here's what happens. Like, you can be with us live on campus, which I love that option because there's nothing like being able to be connected closely to other boot campers and just other chiropractors and students and being that humanness again. Or you can join us virtually from all over the world. Both options, you'll be able to have the replay for 60 days, which I love because then your whole team can be trained. You can go back and review things over and over and over again. The first law of learning is repetition. So this opportunity gives you that chance with your team to really learn these topics and to learn the content and be able to implement and execute these strategies with great confidence. So Chelsea, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I always love being with you, Dr. Barb.
I always love being with you too. I've had the pleasure of being able to stay with Dr. Chelsea and Megan and Peyton at their house. And now a new baby is coming this year. I'm so excited.
I know she took your bedroom, so I'm sorry about
it. Well, I'll share.
Okay, there you go.
Share with her, that's for sure. So Chelsea, let's talk about this really kind of plague that's really impacting a lot of families in the US and across the globe. Like tell us the truth. What's happening?
Yeah, it's estimated that 1 in 4 people are struggling with fertility, but how they define fertility is that you've been trying for about a year and you still haven't been able to get pregnant. I don't think those statistics have really been updated in the recent future in the last 2 or 3 years. So I would beg that statistic is probably worse than what it was prior. I think everybody knows somebody who has struggled with getting pregnant or staying pregnant. So especially even this year, I know in many practices, we're seeing more miscarriages just because of the stress and the, traumatic and toxic effect that our world has had on us. So I don't think it's anything that's getting better by any means, but it is definitely something that we as chiropractors can play a huge role in making a change, because really when you're looking at infertility, it's like any other chronic disease, if you will. It's a side effect of not taking care of our health. And it's not like your fault, like you did this to yourself. It's just how society looks at health. And we really need to be a part of changing that paradigm. I mean, even more so now with what we went through in 2020.
I love that you quantified it, not just getting pregnant, but staying pregnant. Yeah. I'm amazed when I talk to women, how many women have had multiple miscarriages. By God's grace, I never did, but man, the stories, even your story is just heart-wrenching. And so, I love the fact that it's not the closet subject anymore, that women are discussing it with each other, with their healthcare providers, with us as chiropractors, with their friends. Like it's not this secret anymore. So we've brought it out into the light because it is really, it's a tremendous loss. So let me ask you this. What do you find in your practice and in your studies and in your research? Is there one thing that seems to be more prevalent than anything else that is leading to infertility or miscarriage?
Yeah, so I do. I'll answer that in just a second, but I think the bigger picture too, when you mentioned like getting pregnant and staying pregnant too, is we need to remember when we're working with these people too, it's not about getting pregnant. It's such a bigger picture too, because I had women in my practice who get pregnant, but then their babies are born with like a genetic defect or some sort of chronic illness. Because when we look at statistics, like this is a pediatric boot camp that we're doing, kids are getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So when we can get parents healthy, we can then create healthy cells that allow them to get pregnant, stay pregnant, and create healthy babies. And that is the bigger picture there.
Yeah.
But I think when you're working with these patients who are struggling with this, for me, I think you always get in your practice, it's kind of like a mirror moment. You kind of get some things that you need to work on maybe yourself sometimes. So I am tending to attract a lot of type A people who need to be in control. And we are seeing stress play a huge factor. And it's not just like, oh, I'm like that emotional stress. I mean, it's like childhood traumas, stresses that we aren't dealing with throughout our life, like that, we talk about the 3 T's in chiropractic, your thoughts, traumas, and toxins. But those thoughts that people aren't dealing with is one of the biggest things that I truly do see.
We didn't even talk about queuing this up, but this makes me so excited because, part of the subluxation process is because we don't understand what is human.
Yeah.
We don't really understand how mind works. We don't really understand mind, thought, and consciousness. And I talked about this yesterday in Women's Mind. This phone has so many more capabilities than what any of us really know how to use, right? And when we get it, like, so I can take a picture, I can actually use my flashlight, I can text, I can do a few things on this, but it can do so many more things than I'm aware of. And I invite everyone to understand that your mind, your knowing has built-in software at birth that you probably don't understand how to use it. And for those of you who've been following me for the last couple of months, and if you haven't been, I invite you to really tune in and go back and watch some of my Facebook lives about mind, thought, and consciousness, that our mind houses the blueprint for our reality. And then we have knowing. And as chiropractors, that knowing we know as innate intelligence. And innate intelligence is always on time. It always does what it was designed to do, and that's to keep us healthy and well. But there's interference to that, right? Like you just said, the 3 T's, traumas, thoughts, and toxins. Those T's also interfere with our knowing in the creation of thought. So thought is mind's energy. And when we indulge in a thought, we get our thinking. But what's happened is we've been taught that personal growth is just about just look at you yourself. But if you don't understand the system, if you don't understand what is human, then all you do is look at how am I wrong and how are other people wrong? And that is never going to lead to health and well-being, just like the difference between chiropractic care and Western medicine. Yep. It looks for symptoms versus understanding the system. So for those of you who come to the PEDS boot camp or who buy a virtual ticket, I promise you will understand mind, thought, and consciousness from what I'll be speaking on Friday and Saturday. So Chelsea, when we go and look deeper into, or let's do this, talk about a success story about, okay, this is this is a rampant problem right now. And let's talk about the journey of a couple that that has gone from unhealthy, right? Subluxated daddy, subluxated mommy, subluxated mommy, subluxated mommy, to now healthy baby.
I mean, the biggest example comes to mind is my own personal experience, obviously. But just I'll take away from that and I'll tell my own story at the boot camp. But yeah, like we have had multiple couples come through the office that we have worked with. And what I see day in and day out is they're like, okay, just tell me what supplements to take and adjust my spine. And many times as chiropractors, I think people can get into that, well, my neck hurts here, so you're going to want to adjust them there. But that's not the issue. That's the symptom, right? So we've got to find the cause. So you can take all the supplements, do all the things. I mean, heck, you can go and spend all this money and do IVF and all these fertility treatments, but it is still not guaranteed. So there's so much more to this picture. So one of the things that I realized was really this past year, I've really started diving into this patient base and really making that my focus is slowing them down and journaling about day-to-day things, getting into a state of gratitude, and really creating that space for them to have a baby in their life. And when you slow down and you meditate and you journal and you connect with yourself like that, I'm really interested to hear kind of your mind consciousness stuff that you're going to dive into, because I think that would really connect into this. But it allows people to connect back with themselves. So we had a couple one time that the mom just had to be in control of everything all the time, and super type A, super driven, and had done, multiple rounds of IVF for years, this, that, and the other. And then finally just was like, you know what? My job is killing me. I'm going to quit my job. So she quit her job. She took time for herself. She slowed down. She created this space for a baby, connected with herself, started doing the things that she needed to do to get healthy. And we know health is not just eating right and taking your supplements. There's so much more to it. And now she's got a beautiful baby girl to show for it. So that's, every case is different and every person is different. But the biggest trend that I am noticing is we really have to define what health is in our office when we're working with our patients.
Absolutely. And that I think it's so important to acknowledge that the human condition is wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't have to be like doing over here to have more joy and happiness, or trying to not have that so we don't have despair. Like our natural state is wellness. Yeah. And when we understand that our natural state is wellness, there's nothing that we have to do. Like that's our natural state. And there are times, of course, that is interfered with, but it's way easier actually to return to a natural state, because that is the human condition, right? So yes, I'm super excited to be sharing with everybody and to learn from you. And Samantha Brooks owns the fourth largest birthing center in the country, and she's coming and sharing with us. So for those of you who want to have that birthing center, like, you've talked to them, I've talked to them. How many people want to have a collaborative birthing center where it's a chiropractor and, like maybe a massage therapist and a doula and a midwife, and everyone working in order to support this mama as she goes through this process. And so Samantha's going to be speaking, of course, Dr. Monica Berger, like the best of the best in pediatrics, and Jesse's coming to share about pelvic floor. Like, I always kind of thought pelvic floor instability were for, like the old ladies my age that have had babies, but that's not the case at all. So I'm excited for everyone to be learning from Dr. Jesse. And then of course, Dr. Cece will be sharing about chiropractic and pregnancy, and how do we come together to support men and women as we go through this process. So Chelsea, as we wrap this up, any final words that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah. Since our audience is probably mostly chiropractors, I think definitely come to this boot camp. It's going to be amazing. And we always have so much fun when we're together. I love the energy that we have. But I'm excited to share kind of a unique way, I think, of thinking about fertility. I think in our profession, we always, like, people still, when they're looking at it, I see in our profession all the time, like, oh, well, you need to take this supplement. Oh, well, you need to take this supplement. And that's the same as saying, oh, you have a headache, give a C1 adjustment, and that's not the approach we need to have. We need to keep that focus on wellness, that salutogenic lifestyle and then you really have to get with yourself and patients to be honest with yourself about, are you being healthy? We're seeing all these statistics of COVID, and you hear, oh, well, they were perfectly healthy. Okay, well, let's define health. Or you'll hear something like, they exercise all the time, they eat right, they do this. Okay, great, but are they handling their stress, or are they deficient in any nutrients, or what is their diet like? Are they getting adjusted enough? There's so many facets of what we can put in as what is a healthy person. And that's really what I want to talk about, is looking at all of this from a salutogenic lifestyle and let's getting to the cause and getting people back to health and wellness, which is your body's ability to function the way it was designed, period.
You know, I think health is, we've looked at it for so long, linear. A plus B plus C equals D. Yes. And it's not. It's, you know, it's a complex, you know, like it's not it's not addition and subtraction. And it's even more than multiplication and division. It's like that really big math, like calculus or advanced calculus. Like that's really and truly what health is. And looking at, okay, well, maybe that mama has plenty of this in her diet, but maybe it's this. And you know, I think I know what we're going to be seeing in our offices in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months is completely brand new than what we've seen before. Like the depth of subluxation and the necessity of knowledge. Like for all of you who haven't had advanced training and yet you're seeing families, like no offense, but get with it. Like not fair that a family would come into your practice and check it off their list that their children are okay, that they're okay with a limited generic education. Like we're so far beyond that anymore. And so I'm really just like calling all of us out of step it up. I don't care if you took training last year, it's going to be different right now. And what you learned last year needs another layer and another reminder this year. So please, all of you, like grab your ticket virtually or show up in person and then commit to the 2 months after, like every single week, watch a piece again and take your knowledge that much deeper. Like it's really important that we have the latest information, and not only that we have it in our notes, but we're actually implementing it.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to think about what kind of babies are we going to see coming out of this year? Like you've got moms who are being told to isolate so they don't get COVID, so they can go to the hospital and birth. They're birthing in masks. I mean, it's hard enough to, you know what I mean? So like, what kind of stress are we putting on these babies? You know, so what are we going to see coming out of this? And this is our time to shine and really, like you said, step it up. If you're not skilled in this, find a colleague who is and get the training so that you can be, because families need us more than ever from here on out. They cannot trust anybody but us. That's how I feel.
I agree. Like we have no vested interest in the fake science, right? Like none of us are making any money off the fake science. So you are so right. And listen to us, please. They are looking for a trusted advocate. Yes. Your community, every family in your community is looking for a trusted advocate. Hey, there's Cipriana, a friend of mine here in Alaska. So the last thing I want us to talk about just super fast, students. Yep. It is not too early to be coming to the pediatric boot camp. Like you are given an unbelievable opportunity to learn, to be able to keep learning and to get to know each one of the doctors who are present there. I'm going to be sharing like kind of like my dream about how the chiropractic model is going to change for chiropractors and young doctors. And it is imperative to get there. So Chelsea, what message do you have for students as we wrap this up today?
Being a student, you feel very overwhelmed, I think, being in school, and you think this is the busiest time of your life. But looking back, no, it starts afterwards, especially if you are somebody that is going to go on and have a business and kids and all these things. Like now is your time to learn. And it's like be a sponge as a student. And also every doc that's coming and speaking, we are in the field and we're going to be giving our experiences for people that we're currently seeing. So if you're very close to graduating, I mean, you're going to be walking right into this population and seeing what we're seeing. So there's no better time than to learn than when you're a student. I mean, take advantage of every opportunity, especially we're going to be at Sherman. So
yes. Yeah. And listen, students, there's no better way to learn than observing in an awesome office like Dr. Chelsea's. And I'm 100% confident that when you come to the boot camp and you meet her and you say, hey, can I come and shadow you? That it would be a yes. But if you're just someone random, there's a lot more that has to be built into that. And no offense, I would be like, well, did you get there? Like, did you come? Were you active? Or is it now just, you know, I'm amazed how many students and doctors reach out to me like, hey, can you help me? I'm like, like, what have you done to help yourself?
Yeah.
There's a responsibility for all of us. Like, you show up as a student, you show up as a young doctor, and I promise I will go to the ends of the earth for you. But if you're just sitting back and then in crisis expect me to jump in and help, I'm sorry, but there are others who've already demonstrated that they're committed, that they're going to be in front of the line before you. That's just how it is. So, Chels, thank you so much. Give a big hug to Megan and a kiss to P for me. And I'll see you in a month.
I know. I can't wait.
Yay, I can't wait. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome day. Please hit share right now so that your friends and colleagues can have an opportunity to learn and then have an opportunity to join us. I will put the link below for our PEDS boot camp. And actually, if you reach out to me after watching this, I'll give you Dr. Chelsea's special link that saves you some money on your ticket. Or you can reach out to Dr. Chelsea and she'll be happy to share that with you as well. See ya. Bye.
Bye.